really take? I mean, to get to a point where flying first class London to Miami may be costing, what, $6,000?
Yeah.
That's just an option, not some crazy dream.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question. And that's really the core of our deep dive today, looking at this YouTube video. It's by Mark Tilbury, and he basically tries to get answers straight from the source, interviewing fellow first-class passengers about how they got, well, rich.
Right. And his original idea, which sounded pretty smart, was to use all the perks of the first class lounge. You know, the quiet spaces, maybe grab someone for a chat over free food, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Maybe even try and get an interview during a massage, I think was mentioned.
Yeah, maybe. But it turns out privacy is a big deal in those lounges, so he had to be a bit more discreet.
Yeah, that plan didn't quite work out as smoothly as hoped. So the extended lounge interviews, they didn't really happen.
Okay.
But what we did get are these really interesting snippets, these encounters that show different ways people build wealth.
So what are we digging into from those?
Well, we'll look at the different routes people took, the whole experience versus qualifications debate, the absolute basics of saving and investing, always crucial,
Sure.
plus something maybe less talked about, the power of finding a real niche. And finally, how people think about risk.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with that first chat he managed to have, the one in the lounge, with the guy who just sold his jewelry business.
Yeah, what was really striking there was his focus on, like, practical learning. He didn't just jump in. He worked for, I think you mentioned, 6 different independent jewelers first.
Just 6. To get a really wide range of experience, he said.
And he drew a direct line from that experience to his success later on. His advice was, well, pretty straightforward. Get experience.
And also, you gotta love what you do. That seemed important too.
Definitely. Which, you know, kind of echoes the interviewer's own background, right? Leaving school young, becoming a millionaire in his 20s. It shows there isn't just one way.
Yeah, it definitely challenges the degree-first mindset sometimes.
Yeah.
He even mentioned that Sylvester Stallone quote
Oh, yeah.
about how a college degree basically proves you can show up and finish something.
That's a take.
It is, but you see the point, right?
Yeah.
Employers value that reliability, that commitment, and you can demonstrate that in lots of ways, not just through formal education.
Totally. And that same jewelry guy, he also hit on something absolutely fundamental, saving. His advice was basically save, don't spend your income if you can avoid it, live within your means.
Sounds simple, almost basic.
It does, but it's the foundation, isn't it? That discipline of not spending every penny, putting something aside consistently, that's what enables the next step.
Which is investing. And the video, it had that graphic, didn't it? Showing $10,000 in the S&P 500 back in 1980.
Yeah, and what it grew to by 2018, it's a really powerful visual of compounding over the long term.
For anyone not familiar, the S&P 500 is just, a way to track the performance of 500 of the biggest U.S. companies, a sort of market benchmark.
Right. And the video touches on ways everyday people can do this kind of investing. Things like the stocks and shares IS in the UK or a Roth IRA over in the US.
These are just types of accounts, basically, where your investments can grow without you having to pay certain taxes on the gains.
Exactly. Tax advantages.
Yeah.
And the idea of automating it, just setting up regular payments that takes the guesswork and emotion out of it, lets your money just work.
Yeah, set it and forget it, almost.
And they mentioned AI advisors, too, like Webull was the example. These platforms use algorithms to manage things for you. Still got to do your homework on them, obviously.
Sure, always. It was a bit of a shame, though, when they had to stop filming in the lounge.
Yeah, you felt like there were more stories there.
But the insights didn't stop. He got more once they were actually on the plane. Which brings us to the next big idea, niching down, becoming a specialist.
Yes, this came from the interview with Curtis Termy from the Strikey Big podcast.
Right. What was his story again?
Well, he started out doing free videos, weddings, clubs, anything really, just to build up a portfolio.
Okay, hustling.
Totally. Now he runs a production company, team of about 13, net worth over $1 million. And the key, he said, was deciding to niche down, to become the expert in one specific area.
He used that analogy, the surgeon versus the GP.
Exactly. You know, your general doctor knows a lot about everything, which is great. But for, say, brain surgery, you want the specialist who only does brain surgery.
Makes sense. Less competition, maybe you can charge more.
That seems to be the idea. Become the go-to person in a specific field, build that reputation.
Did he give any tips on how to actually do that? Become the expert?
Yeah, a few practical things. First, find a niche that actually has demand, where you feel you can add real value.
Okay.
Second, get hands-on experience within different parts of that niche. Don't just know one tiny corner.
Right.
Third, never stop learning. Keep up with trends, new techniques.
Constant learning, yeah.
And fourth, build your network. Connect with other people in your niche. That's often overlooked, but really valuable.
Good advice. Okay, then the video shifts again, right? To the guy who came to America with just like $40.
Yeah, amazing story. Built 2 businesses. And his main piece of advice was maybe a bit unexpected.
What was it?
He said, risk management is the most underrated issue for entrepreneurs.
Huh. Not just take risks, but manage them.
Precisely. It's not about being fearless or reckless. It's about understanding the potential downsides and figuring out how to mitigate them, being calculated.
That's a really interesting angle. We hear so much about taking the leap.
We do. And he also talked about how that fear of failure just stops people. They're too scared to even try.
Which reminded the interviewer of his own story, didn't it?
Yeah.
Quitting his job after being bullied.
A huge risk at the time, but it ended up being the thing that pushed him onto his path to wealth.
It really highlights how personal risk tolerance is. And the video had that stat about the UK.
Oh yeah, something like 6 out of 10 people worry about the consequences of failure when thinking about starting a business.
That's a lot. It shows how common that fear is.
It really is. But then you get that counter idea, the sort of underlying message in the video. Maybe playing it too safe, staying comfortable. Maybe that's the biggest risk in the long run.
Yeah, the risk of missing out.
Exactly. Missing growth, missing fulfillment.
And there's that other unexpected chat, wasn't there? With the air service manager.
Oh, right. Yeah, that wasn't planned, but it added another layer. He just shared his observations from seeing first-class passengers all the time.
What kind of things did he notice?
Well, the mix of people. You've got your celebrities, obviously, lots of business travelers, but also people with new money. He called it maybe lottery winners, that kind of thing.
So, a real mix.
Yeah, and he also mentioned the wide age range of entrepreneurs flying up front. It's not just older, established people.
That's encouraging, actually. Challenges some stereotypes.
Definitely. And it ties into that New York Times report mentioned in the video.
About airlines adding more fancy seats.
Yeah, major U.S. airlines increasing premium seats by like 25 to 75% in some cases.
Wow, that's a huge jump. So the demand is clearly growing.
It seems so. And the video sort of hints that the rise of online businesses, the internet making it easier maybe to generate significant income, that could be fueling some of this demand.
Right. The interviewer mentions his own online stuff, the Challenge and Discord group, just as an example of how people are making money online these days. Not promoting it, just illustrating the point.
It shows those possibilities exist outside the traditional 9-to-5.
Okay, so the deep dive kind of wraps up with a really personal moment for the interviewer, right? Meeting John Fox again.
Yeah, after 15 years and getting to fly in one of his planes, you could tell it was a big deal for him.
Definitely seemed quite emotional. And John Fox's advice was really quite philosophical, wasn't it?
It really was. For young people wanting similar success, owning a plane maybe, his advice was basically try everything.
Try everything.
Yeah, go out there and try everything you think you want, try everything you think you're going to love, and try some of the things that you don't like.
Huh. Even the things you don't like.
And you'll surprise your inner heart, and something will spark, and then follow that path.
Wow. That's powerful. It's all about exploration and listening to yourself, isn't it? Finding that spark.
Exactly. It's not just about the money. It's about finding what genuinely clicks for you, what resonates deep down, and then having the courage to pursue that, even if it seems unconventional or risky.
So pulling all these threads together from the first class cabin, what's the takeaway? Is there a secret?
Well, it seems like there's no single secret formula, is there? It's more like a combination of things, like getting that hands-on experience we talked about, always learning, being disciplined about saving and smart investing.
Right, the fundamentals.
And then finding that niche where you can really excel, plus understanding risk, not avoiding it, but managing it smartly.
So experience, learning, saving, investing, niching, managing risk. Quite a mix.
It is. But maybe the common thread through all those stories, the jeweler, Curtis Tui, the $40 guy, John Fox, is finding what truly drives you and then just going for it with intention.
Yeah, pursuing something you're genuinely passionate about or at least deeply interested in.
Because success looks different for everyone, clearly.
It really makes you think, though, about your own path.
Yeah.
You know, listening to this, maybe you start wondering, what's the real risk I'm taking right now?
Yeah, is the biggest risk actually not doing something?
Yeah.
Not trying that idea, not stepping out of the comfort zone?
Maybe these glimpses from 30,000 feet can be a bit of inspiration, right? To think about what that next calculated leap might be for you.